Emergency Manager Kevyn Orr was appointed a few weeks later, and he had the tough job of wrangling the city's finances as well as essentially running the day-to-day function of the city. And he had to wade into the politics of it all. In June, the former president of the Detroit City Council, Charles Pugh, suddenly left town after allegations of an improper relationship with a teen he mentored. Orr had to make the decision to strip Pugh of his pay and his duties. This past week, you have made a pretty big decision, and that decision was to strip City Council President Charles Pugh of his title and of his salary. Can you explain why you made that decision?
The only reason I made that decision is, I'm in the midst of some pretty serious discussions with rank and file employees about their terms and conditions and compensation. And from my years in federal government, the standard schedule of discipline, both in federal government and the military, is the higher up you go, the more responsible you're supposed to be. And so Mr. Pugh is a leader. He's president of the council. His conduct should be exemplary as an example for other employees, and going missing in action at a critical time in the city's development on council I felt was inappropriate. So what I said was, you need to come back to council. If there's a reason you need to take time off, then explain that reason. I'm not a public relations specialist. But more important than that, Mr. Pugh had sent me a memo asking me to approve medical leave. There's nothing in either the charter or under my statute for me to approve medical leave, and I didn't want to get drawn in to a situation where someone would say the emergency manager approved whatever was going on. So I said, look, I'm not in a position and don't have the authority to approve it. You need to come back and work your job. If you can't do that, then you shouldn't be in a leadership position on the council. So I removed compensation. I kept benefits in place for whatever reason. If someone needs assistance or help, I think that's the humane thing to do. And I actually said that's going to take effect this Sunday. So although it said you had to come back by 5, the compensation decision went for the balance of the pay period to give a little extra time for someone to reconsider what they should do as a leader, when I'm asking for some pretty severe concessions from rank and file employees.
Was it disappointing that you hadn't heard from him?
No, it's not particularly disappointing. I'm nobody's priest, and I'm certainly nobody's judge. I'm just trying to do my job as I think is appropriate, particularly for people in leadership positions in a city where leaders have all too often disappointed us.
So Charles apparently is hiding or trying to avoid these very serious allegations raised by a mother who claims he had an inappropriate relationship with her son. Do you know where he is? And as an elected official, as the president of the council, wouldn't you expect him to stand up and offer some explanation to these charges?
Nolan, I'm gonna stay away from that. As I said before, I'm not his judge, and my decision was separate from the allegations that have been made. And they are serious allegations. We've seen them before in other contexts in Pennsylvania, so on and so forth. And I just didn't want to get caught dealing with the responsiveness of a leader to be on the job, leading the council. Whatever flows from that, everyone's innocent until proven guilty. I am a lawyer, no longer attorney because I don't have a bar license in Michigan, but I am a lawyer. And everyone who is subject to an allegation has a right to defend themselves as they seem appropriate. I've just read the published reports in response to your question about where he is, about Mr. Pugh in the Northwest somewhere, but I hope he's okay, and I hope that at some point he'll have an opportunity to respond to these allegations, but that's really his business, that's not mine.
Well, you've got to be aware, though, of the optics here, that as the appointed emergency manager, you're stripping the second highest ranking elected official in the city of his title. Obviously, people are sort of questioning what is your authority to do that. Certainly you could dismiss the council, right? As emergency manager, you could disband or not pay any council members, but what gives you the authority to say he's no longer president, which is defined in our charter as the highest vote getter?
Well, Section 9 of 436, my statute, says that the council shall stand down, council and mayor shall stand down unless specifically delegated. And if you recall, I delegated power back to the mayor and the council at some criticism.
Right.
And I did that at the time because in the statute there's certain provisions, one of which is to take a vote to fire me at the end of my term. And I thought it would be highly cynical and somewhat unfair to say, well, they have a role, but I'm not going to pay them, and I'm going to denude them of any authority, as some of my friends in Washington advised me to do, the political animals, and said, gut them and leave them on the side. And I said, no, I'm going to try to work with this situation. For the first month, they were taking votes. One of the most difficult ones was the retention of my old firm, Jones Day. And I sat on the sidelines and let that happen. So I really tried to do this right. And I think the statute gives me authority. What it does not give me authority to do is to fire anybody. He is an elected official. It has a provision whereby you can appeal to the governor, and I have not done that, okay? Because I think that I'm trying to divorce what I'm trying to do from an administrative and operational standpoint from whatever's going on with the allegations that are in the
But
paper.
can you
and
let
other
go
things.
of his staff? I mean, can you lay
Sure,
them
absolutely,
off? And
absolutely.
will you take that step if he doesn't show up soon?
Well, we've already taken some steps with regard to both Mr. Pugh's staff and Mr. McKenyatta's staff. I mean, we're trying to save money. As you note in the budget, there was a little kerfuffle between the mayor and the council regarding council staff and budgets and 33% cuts. And I don't want to get involved in kerfuffle. I'm just looking at money. And if someone's not working, if someone hasn't taken that into consideration, their own staff that they hired, I can't. I'm in a crisis.